Anyway, hello everybody, I'm Troylon Griffin II here, and this is the second episode of the Great New Signal Insight Podcast, where we discuss all the greatest insights into pop culture phenomenons, why they're popular, how they became popular, and do we think they deserve to be popular? And today we are going to be discussing something a little more fringe, definitely not what you would think will be the next episode after discussing The Bachelor. We're going to be discussing... That's it, folks. E.T., extraterrestrials, aliens. Oh, yeah, all that good stuff. Aliens, folks. But anyway, before I get too excited, here I have with me two amazing, wonderful people on our panel. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Emily Wolfe, and I am one of the managing editors for The Signal.
I'm the other managing editor.
And I'm Hailey Lamoree. Fun fact, this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited to be hosting with y'all today. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here as well. So, again, here on the Insight Show, it is all about us covering certain phenomenons in pop culture. So today we're not just going to be talking about, conspiracy theories with aliens and whether we need to have tinfoil hats on right now. We're going to actually break things down about aliens specifically and the role they have played in what we call pop culture, our entertainment, our news, music, TV shows, all that special stuff. So we're going to be talking about, why do we think aliens have continued to be a big part of pop culture, how they entered pop culture, and in between all that gritty and grainy stuff, we're going to finally conclude this wonderful podcast by discussing whether we believe in aliens, and if so, why, and what are they like. So, you guys ready to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
All right, let's get into this. So, like I said, let's start off with, the basic question before we dive into the history. Why do you guys think aliens have continued to be a big part of popular culture? We've seen that, especially... I would say the 90s and early 2000s were really the peak of aliens just really being all throughout pop culture. You had shows like The X-Files that just fully embraced the whole aliens and UFO ideas and everything. And in the 2000s, now we have shows like Ancient Aliens and stuff like that. Whether it's fiction or reality, aliens are clearly a big thing that, if you ask someone about it, it's sure to spark some kind of conversation, whether it be whimsical or a serious conversation. So why do you guys think that is?
Well, I think it is because we just don't know. We don't have any concrete proof that they exist. We don't have any concrete proof that they don't exist. We don't know what they look like. We don't know how they act. I think it's a giant mystery, and I think people...
That's what keeps it interesting to people, I think, because, like you said, they don't know what it is. So it's kind of like we have a bunch of different theories.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
For me, I think it is also kind of like what both of you guys have said. I think it is just this phenomenon to where we're always going to wonder what else is out there. Like, it's interesting. During my research, I have found that some people have argued that, man's search for aliens is basically the new version of searching for God. We're searching for the unknown, the beyond of the beyond and stuff like that. And so I feel like, especially with all the technology we have, we're discovering more about the cosmos, the galaxy and stuff. To me, it makes sense that, we do want to wonder, hey, is there something out there? What is that something? And all that different stuff. So now that we've discussed why we think they continue to be so popular, let's get into the history of, aliens in pop culture. One of the things that I found to be interesting during my wonderful research into this is that aliens seem to have always been on people's minds. Like, apparently there's evidence of extraterrestrial life being in human thought since almost, before Christ, basically. By European standards, but also even in Eastern cultures and stuff, there are so many different stories, whether it be folklore, legends, about, creatures from other worlds. Although they didn't necessarily know what we know now about the universe and stuff like that, they still believe that there were possibly beings or could be beings from other planets. For example, the 2nd century writer, Lucian, as he was called, in one of his most satirical works, actually claimed to have visited the moon. And keep in mind, this is the 2nd century. claimed to have visited the moon, and on his ship he found what appeared to be a war going on between aliens over the sun and a star or something like that. So it's very interesting that we've always had this thought about, aliens being around and stuff like that. It's quite fascinating and
that
everything.
Was a question that I was going to ask you is, do you feel like aliens are on, the moon or in space? Because a lot of people, I think back in the 90s, when you were talking about that, that's what we thought of as aliens. They're not here. They're on a different planet.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I mean, I wonder sometimes if the aliens could be on the moon, but, we're going to have to get into that for later on in the topic. But one thing also that I found to be interesting, let's discuss the Greys. The iconic gray aliens and their ships and everything. Yeah. So tell me, what do you guys think of when you first think of the Greys? How were you guys introduced to the popular image of the Greys and this whole abduction alien stuff? The most iconic idea of alien thought.
I was introduced because my dad really loves everything to do with Roswell.
Yeah.
He's a big Roswell person. He's not 100% convinced that aliens were there, but he just likes the whole secrecy behind it.
Yeah.
And so I knew very early on about the Greys. Also, I came from a family that watched Star Trek religiously, that loved X-Files, so aliens is kind of in my DNA, sort of. So I remember seeing them for the first time, going, "Oh, what's that?" They're just kind of always there for me.
Man, that's a tough question for me, because I was telling him earlier that I'm kind of going in this blind side. I don't really know much about aliens. I don't know.
Well, for me, as someone who, I didn't watch a lot of live action shows growing up besides what was on Nickelodeon. So I was always, watching cartoons from Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. So, cartoons obviously scrutinize everything. And so it was always common. There'd always be some weird little alien episode where you see these Greys. The funny thing is, I was one of those people who I always thought it was little green men, not little gray men. Apparently, little green men is actually a whole other thing that has existed long before the Greys, which we are about to get into. So, as many people may or may not know, people have commonly believed that the whole idea of the gray aliens actually began with the famous Betty and Barney abduction case that happened in the 60s, if I'm correct. Basically, Betty and Barney were basically an interracial couple who were driving along a road one night when they claimed that they were apparently abducted by a ship that contained gray aliens, that they were experimented on, probed, and all these different things. And they had long maintained that this wasn't a hoax, that they really had been abducted by the Greys. And it was through that the whole idea of the gray aliens entered pop culture. Or so we think. As I dove deeper into all this, we actually uncovered some interesting stuff. It turns out the whole idea of gray aliens, little green men, these things with bigger heads and stuff like that is actually dated long before the Betty and Barney abduction case. One thing that we apparently found is that throughout lots of science fiction writings and everything, it was actually very common for aliens to be portrayed as these gray alien little men and stuff like that. In fact, there's even an article I found from a skeptic site that was talking about how humans, at one point, it was a popular article in the late 1800s, said that they believed, this was a scientist, that the evolved form of humans was going to be, the idea of what we consider a short little gray alien and stuff like that. And so one thing that believers will constantly try to say is that, oh, Betty and Barney must have really experienced this because they couldn't have just came up with that on their own. There was no prior alien, in popular culture to where they could have said, oh, that's what we're going to say. But if we delve deeper, and we did, we actually found that it turns out they did actually might have had some sources. There were gray aliens all throughout, Pulp Fiction writings and stuff like that. And aside from the gray aliens, we've also had aliens appear as various other things. We've had them appear as, lizard-like people, dogs, and all these other things. So, in terms of, aliens in pop culture and everything, we've seen aliens show up in all sorts of different movies and TV shows. We've had The War of the Worlds, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Day the Earth Stood Still, iconically, Steven Spielberg, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The X-Files, Ancient Aliens, all those different things. So, why don't we get into that? What do you guys think is the best portrayal of extraterrestrial life in pop culture?
I think, growing up, I think that aliens were portrayed as, like, what you were saying earlier, the skinny bodies, gray, the big heads, the big black eyes.
Yeah.
Very little mouths or no mouths. I mean, just something like that. But then, when you were talking about the alien movies, I did watch growing up Alien versus Predator.
Oh, yeah.
So those were like creepy aliens.
Yeah.
And they were definitely portrayed differently.
They were.
Yeah, like monsters, scary, very scary. But then other aliens that I've seen were like cute and like had like weird, like Martian voices, and there's just so many different things, like different portrayals of aliens that it's just kind of hard to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I personally, well, obviously, knowing who I am and my family, I like the Star Trek version of aliens where they're very similar to humans. They're just they're like a little bit more extreme.
My dad liked Star Trek too, so I didn't watch the episodes, but I, when I would like walk in the living room and, I would like see that.
Yeah, so I like that kind of like portrayal of aliens, but I also like the aliens that are like hidden in plain sight. You can't just like decide if they're human or alien just by looking at them.
Yeah.
What is that one? I meant to put it on this list. Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Roswell? You mentioned that. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, give us some insight.
So Roswell is like a site in New Mexico where like in the 40s it's like this crash happened, and that's kind of like a big jumping point off for like UFOs and stuff was all in Roswell. And then in like the early 2000s, there's a television show called Roswell.
Oh, okay.
And it starred like a baby Katherine Heigl and like a baby Colin Hanks or whatever. And it was like this dumb like teen show where like 3 of the characters were aliens and the other ones like were just humans. But they just made a reboot of it, and it came out in like January called Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
And I am so obsessed. It's got people from like PLL in it. It's got people from Vampire Diaries.
It's actually like a drama series.
Yes, it is so good. Like I am on.
Where can you find that?
It's on the CW.com right now.
Oh, okay.
Because it comes on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
That is my show right now.
So that kind of that explains why there's like alien stuff all over Roswell.
Yeah.
My friend went to New Mexico and she brought me back a magnet, and then I had an alien on it, and I'm just like, okay. That's random.
It's interesting,
but that makes sense now, yeah.
It's very interesting, though, because like with the history of it, apparently, there was this crash that happened in Roswell. And, the government did say, it was just like an air balloon or some experimental aircraft. Mm-hmm. And it was years later when some people started thinking, wait a minute, this might have actually been like an alien craft that crashed and everything.
Yeah.
And there was all this speculation. And what makes it so different is that I think it's hundreds or thousands of witnesses in the town claimed that they saw something that did not look like it was a balloon. It looked like it was something otherworldly. But that is a good question issue to raise about, the Roswell show and all these different portrayals of aliens. To me, I think that nothing has been more scrutinized in popular culture entertainment than, extraterrestrial life. It's something that's become kind of a joke, but it's also been done seriously to the point where, one wonders, can we take such a thing seriously? So that leads into the next thing I think we need to discuss. Do you guys think that aliens or extraterrestrial life being so scrutinized in entertainment makes it easier or harder for one to believe in them?
I think for me personally, harder.
Yeah.
I mean, I have never been, I never really thought about aliens growing up. Like, I've never been like, oh, they're real, or, they're not real. Like, I just didn't really think about it. But if I have to be honest, I would have to definitely say, like, it's hard for me to believe in them.
I think.
But also because there's no clear evidence.
There's no clear evidence.
So it's like the whole mermaid thing. Like, are they real?
Manatees.
My thing with aliens, and I think it does make it harder for them for their existence to be taken seriously. I don't know. I think because there's so many different versions of them, I think it's hard for us to agree on what they actually. I don't think they're like humanoid at all. Like, if they do exist, I think. But at the same, I don't know. I feel like science is making it easier to believe in it, but like pop culture is making it harder to believe in it.
And so, see, that's one thing also I was going to say, because, me, I think some of the best portrayals of extraterrestrial life tend to be the ones where the aliens are not so human, like what you were saying, Alien vs. Predator. I love that whole series, the Alien series with Sigourney Weaver, because I love how it was just, they have hands and like humans, kind of, but I love that they're these monstrous, completely unhuman things. I think the problem with the Greys is that we're searching too much for something to look like us. And granted, Star Trek did make me realize, oh wait, it is likely planets will develop with humanoid life, but they'll just have different features. But at the same time, I still think that we need to not always be searching in the mirror. Sometimes we need to think, okay, these aliens might be something beyond our simple human perception. And as for me, I think that, I agree with you guys. I think that alien life being scrutinized in entertainment does make it a bit hard to believe, because when I ask people, do you believe in aliens, not particularly people our age, but more so people older than me, they do admit that I don't know, or they're like, well, what do you mean by aliens? Because when they think of aliens, they think of flying saucers and little gray men, which they find to be rather whimsical and just straight up silly and stuff like that. And especially when I was doing research into all of this, when you look at scientific or real life claims of alien sightings, and then you look at fictionalized alien portrayals, it almost is like this case of what came first, the chicken or the egg, because you find that the sightings, you see that you think, oh, they didn't like have anything to make them come up with this, and then you look at literature and you're like, oh, they pulled from a number of sources. But then you also think, or maybe did that person see an alien first and then that inspired that literature? It's definitely a chicken and the egg case, and even though I personally think the chicken came first, but anyway, that is a whole conversation for another day. But it does make it harder in my opinion. I think that maybe if it wasn't so scrutinized, people would be more open to it, but that's never going to happen. We love taking things and scrutinizing them in entertainment, which isn't bad. So, with that being said about entertainment, let's get into what we think are the best movies regarding extraterrestrial life. Best movies, best TV show, and if anyone can think of one, best song. So, let's start first. What do you guys think is the best movie regarding extraterrestrial life?
I think the best movie regarding extraterrestrial life, it's either between E.T., just because it's so iconic.
I was going to say that, yeah.
It's so iconic and it's so cute.
But I feel like all, ages, it's like everyone can get into E.T.
Yeah.
Whereas something like, Alien versus Predator.
Selective audience.
Yeah, there's not going to be much people watching that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really good one. And I also think, like, the original Alien film, I just think it's like a horror story, because it's unknown. We don't know, so that's confusing. Also, my cat is named Ripley from
Oh my god, that is amazing.
So, but those are my takes on that.
So, Emily, for you, it's E.T. and Alien, and for Hailey, it's E.T.
Yeah.
For me, it's interesting. I'm a big Spielberg fan. He was my original inspiration, kind of, when I wanted to be a filmmaker. And honestly, I liked E.T., but there are movies I like more than E.T. that have shaped me. Jurassic Park. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Hey, we'll have a dinosaur episode now. Think about it. Anyway.
No.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
But for me, I think the best movie with aliens is, I'm going to have to agree with you, Emily, too. I think Alien or Aliens is one of the best movies, extraterrestrial life, because, again, we need to be more open-minded to aliens that aren't human-like, and that thing is just monstrous and frightening and terrifying. And I think it's also realistic. Like, realistically, we will have to advance our own technology and go into space and find a creature that's going to kill us and impregnate us and then burst out of our chest.
Oh god.
But another honorable mention I want to bring up, honestly, is the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is an interesting choice for me because, some people might argue aliens aren't in it, But the thing is, well, have you guys seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I haven't. No.
I see. Well, in 2001, it does kind of focus on, humanity in general. But one of the prominent things is the monolith, which is this black, square thing. We've seen that scrutinized a lot, too. And that thing basically causes humans to evolve and stuff. And it's later explained that, it was extraterrestrial life that caused that monolith to be placed there.
Yeah.
And the aliens are not seen. And to me, I think that's something we really need to think about. That is honestly one of the most realistic portrayals of alien life to me. I think aliens really are something that we might not be able to see or really visualize, because it might be something beyond our conception. That being said, TV series. Let's go.
Okay. Obviously X-Files.
Woo! That was
obviously. Mine! I've never binged X-Files or watched it, a lot of episodes, but I have seen some, and I am a fan. Also, Futurama.
I never thought about that, actually.
Yes, good.
Futurama, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I like that. For me, I've already talked about both. I think Roswell, just because I like the idea that they're hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. I like that too.
I just think that's a kind of a clever way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also, your girl loves Star Trek. Me and my siblings are named after Star Trek. Something related to Star Trek. It's my second word was Star Trek. It's just, I have a soft spot for it. And I think it opened us up to ways of, multiple kinds of aliens living in one world, and then also they all have their own political systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Troylon?
Oh, yes. And finally, best song. Does anyone have a song they can think of regarding extraterrestrial life?
I can think of Katy Perry's song.
Oh my goodness! I hadn't even.
It's like E.T. or whatever.
I hadn't even thought about that one. Holy moly!
I don't think I've heard that.
Oh my god!
I think you have.
It's my least favorite Katy Perry.
Let's find it so we can play a little clip.
Oh my god! Well, while you're looking for it, I chose two. It's this song called "David Duchovny" by Bree Sharp, because David Duchovny is the guy that plays Mulder. And in it, she literally says she hopes she'll get abducted by aliens because she just loves David Duchovny.
Oh my god.
And then I also chose Subterranean Homesick Alien by Radiohead, which is why I really wish Miles could have been here. Miles is a big Radiohead fan. But anyway.
Poor Miles got a flat tire.
Yeah. The song is about this guy who basically is so fed up with life on Earth that he wishes aliens could come take him away because he's just bored with life. So those were my two options with that. Did you find the song?
I did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard this.
I haven't heard this. Oh, yeah.
See?
That's all I know.
That used to be my song, honestly.
I've definitely heard that song.
It's my least favorite Katy Perry song.
I love it. All right, so
I love that album.
With all that being discussed, we have the final question. Do we believe in aliens? And if so, what do we imagine them to be? I think we've kind of already indirectly answered all this, but anyone want to give a quick answer? Let's just instantly give a yes or no. Me, obviously, yes.
Yes, I don't think they're humanoid. I don't think they're bipedal or anything like that. I think they're probably just anamorphous blobs that we can't really distinguish shapes from.
Yeah.
Boring, but...
I'm gonna be that person that says no.
Yeah?
I don't believe in them. And,
wow.
And, like I said before, there's no evidence. And I just think all the aliens that I've seen have just been portrayed as, cartoon looking. And, it's just kind of hard to put that into perspective and have an idea thinking that there are aliens out there.
Yeah.
And, are they here on planet Earth or are they away? If they're, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a big topic for me that I'd have to have more evidence and see more pictures and, things like that to actually believe that there are aliens that exist.
And with that being said, I'd like to read this quote from Joe Nickell, who's one of the most prominent skeptics of our time. He says, when it comes to the Greys and just aliens in general, we have a propensity, I hope I said that right, to create man-beasts in our own image. You can see this in the hybrid human animal creatures of Egyptian mythology and other ancient panoplies, whatever the word is. Anyway, Bigfoot is our stupid cousin, he says, from the past. And he goes on to say that the alien is basically the future version of ourselves. And so I think that is a testament to like what we've been saying this whole time, that we have a tendency to imagine aliens in our own human kind of way, which is why I think if we're going to say, yes, aliens exist, we should imagine them as unhumanly as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, folks, this has been wonderful. It was a pleasure talking to all of you about the beyond and whether the truth is out there. And, you know, hopefully the government or the men in black don't come in and take this podcast or anything.
Oh, we forgot about that! How could we forget about that?
No, I'm glad we didn't talk about Men in Black.
I didn't even think of that.
Men in Black is the most scrutinized alien movie ever. I'm glad we didn't bring it
So much
up.
happiness just to watch it.
I enjoyed it.
Lord.
I completely forgot about that movie. Wow.
Well, there can always be a part 2. Probably not. We're probably going to get, our minds wiped. But anyway, talk to you later, folks, and see you for episode 3. I'm Troylon Griffin.
I'm Emily Wolfe.
And I'm Haley.
And this has been The Signal Insight. Peace.